for step 8, attaching the battery case. Well, there's quite a few parts we're going to need to grab for this. We've got all of these, which I've pulled together here, and it's quite a heavier plastic than you normally see in these Tamiya kits. And even this piece specifically, there's actually quite a bit of weight to this. So it's obviously a heavy-duty plastic that they're working with now. So there's a bunch of the parts that we're going to need for this step. And then, of course, we've got our hardware. And we've got quite a bit of that too. And I've still got to get the snap pin. But you can see that once we've put these pieces together, we're going to have sort of our base chassis, you could say. And then we've got this bracket, which is going to be for the battery mount. It's kind of interesting to see that we're putting this together at this stage of the game. But I think what I'll do is I'll just set this up and let's put these pieces together. So I think the first thing we'll do is we will attach this piece to this piece. And you can see that on the bottom here, there's a notch. So on the one side, you have this notch in the plastic. So we know that that's going to be facing forward. And then on this side, you can see at the back, there's almost like an open bridge, let's just call it. So it's higher than everything else. So we know that those two pieces are going to go together like that. Now you can see that the one screw, these longer tapping screws, go into this hole right here. So I'm going to put that one in, and you can see that it's going to go into the center hole of the three that are here. So if we know that, I'm just going to sit that on top of there, and I'm going to start to screw that in so that I've got something to hold on to, and that I know that we've got one thing in. So you can see, there we go, one side. So now that we know that that's correct, I'm going to grab the other one and put it through the side as it was on the other side. And we'll screw that in. And I haven't done it all the way because I want to make sure that these other two screws, now these are the MB6, and there's two of those, one on either side. They're going in down below in the bottom there. So we're going to make sure that that goes in okay, which it feels decent. So same thing on the other side. So now that we've got all 4 screws, I think what we'll end up doing is making sure that they're all going in nice. So now that I know that they're actually sitting properly, I can start going around and screwing them all in. And I can tell you right now, one of the things I do like is you see how the plastic has been notched out so that your screwdriver can actually get in there. Because sometimes it's really difficult to get the screwdrivers into these places, but because that's there, that's making it a lot easier for us, for sure. That's great. So those 4 screws are in. So now what we'll do is let's work on getting this piece on. So for this bit, you can see that you need this end facing up, but you'll also notice that on the back side here, you can see that there's a bit of a ridge on the inside. Well, they're going to easily fit over these 2, and then the third one's going to go onto there. So you can see and feel that it kind of pops into place. So we know that there's an MB6, which was the longer screw, which is going to go into the top. And I'm going to do that first because then it's not confusing. We've got the bigger screw out of the way, and then the other two screws are the same size. So I'm just going to start this one. Make sure that that's in place, yes. And then we've got these MB or MA3 screws that are going to go onto the sides. So again, I'm not going to screw the whole thing in. I'm going to go around and just make sure that everything's going in okay first, which it is. So you can see that that is more or less how that's going to sit. So we can screw these all the way in now. So there we go. That is that front piece. So you can see how that is going to completely sit. Very cool. So now that that part is complete, let's work on this battery box basically. So that's more or less what this shape is for. That's where your battery is going to sit. And then this is going to be the bracket that actually holds the battery in place. Now you can see that down here it's showing you that depending on the size of the battery, you may need to put in these two little things that look like nuts almost that are going to go on the underside. Now, I'm pretty much using a standard battery pack. I'm assuming that this is designed for a standard battery pack, so I'm not going to put in these bits. If later on I find out that I need to, oh well, gonna have to do it then. So what we'll do is let's do this side first, and you can see that we're going to use our MB2 screw. It's going to go into a washer. It's then going to go into C9, which is this little piece. So it's just going to slide through like that, and then it's going to go into that hole right there. So we need to grab our battery cover piece, and well, actually, I wonder if you... Oh no, that part is going to be that way because we need to be able to screw that in place because it's going to end up moving around. So let's just make sure we get this on correct. And I'm going to start it. Make sure that's going in okay. It's not level yet, so let me just pull that back, and I'm just going to unscrew it a bit. Sure that's going through correctly. Yes. And yep, that is correct. So we'll screw this all the way down. Quite a long screw, but I see what it is. Depending on the size of the battery, you may want to screw that in further or not. So I actually might not screw it in any farther at this point because this is obviously going to need to be adjusted depending on the size of the battery. And that way on this side, which has this pin and the snap pin, that's designed so you can spin this out of the way to actually get the battery out. So I'm not going to screw this in any farther, but we are going to get this one screwed in. So I'll take this and screw this into place. Make sure that that is going in level. It is. And I think that will be going in okay. And again, I think it's the same idea, but if we have this on this side, you can see how that's going to fit, right, in terms of the placement. But I think for this, I'm going to be able to screw this all the way down for now. And that way, once it's in, it'll be able to be fitted properly. So I've ended up changing my mind on this. I was going to screw this in all the way. And maybe that's correct, maybe it's not. I'm not sure yet, because obviously the way the battery is, depending on the height of the battery, this may need to be unscrewed a bit and lifted. And I think the same thing's going to apply on the other side. I may need to lift this up for the battery to fit in. So I'm just going to do what they showed here. I'm going to take that snap pin, put it in like that, and there we have our battery holder at this stage. So there is a possibility we're going to need to unscrew these a little farther to get the full battery in there. And I mean, you're just going to pull the pin, lift up, and then move that out of the way, put the battery in, and then put this snap pin back in, which obviously is going to hold it in place. But I think, you know, for right now, we're just going to leave it that way. So step 8 is finished. So we're now going to move over to step 9, and we're going to attach the main frame.